Hi everybody, it's Kevin at Bear Creek Honey. Another project, another winter project, and this is one that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I'm going to be honest, it was quite hard, quite the head scratcher for part of it. This is my swarm box and bee funnel project. A swarm box is used to take a load of bees off of maybe a very strong hive. Let's say you have an extremely strong hive. You went through the honey flow with that hive. You got your honey, and you maybe have 4 or 5 deep or 4 or 5 supers on it. Then you want to harvest your honey, and now you're forcing all those bees from that large hive back down into your 1 or 2 deep brood nest, and that will sometimes get you into trouble where the bees will want to swarm, and it's not a swarm for bee propagation. It's more about colony survival. It's a colony survival swarm. Bees have 2 different modes. One is colony survival, the other one is species survival. In the spring, they build up to swarm, and that's to propagate. That's species survival. If the colony isn't large enough or isn't strong enough, they will abandon that for the sake of the colony. The colony comes first, species comes second. That's how the bees operate. So in the late after your flow in August, late August or early September, you've dropped all your bees down into 2 boxes, which are overloaded with bees, and the bees know this, and they know about mouths to feed and that kind of situation. So rather than feed all those mouths, they opt to swarm to save the colony. Too many mouths to feed over the winter, or going into winter. They don't want to use up their stores that they're building up, and they know they have a finite space right now. They don't know there's a beekeeper there to add extra super space. So sometimes they swarm, and then the swarm part leaves and never gets really established, or has a very low chance of getting established enough to survive the winter. Myself, I took all my honey supers off last year. I had 1 super strong colony, dropped it down into one brood nest, and I gave them an extra super. But I came out one day and they had swarmed. Now luckily, it swarmed into a tree nearby. I was able to collect that swarm, and I housed it, and saved the queen and the whole 9 yards, which was great. But if you don't want your bees to swarm, this is an option. So what we do is we take, essentially you're taking just a load off of the bees, off of your hive. All bees that are in the honey supers at that time of the year, that's what you shake down into a swarm box, and then you can add, if you have enough bees, you add yourself a queen, either mated or a queen cell, hopefully mated. As you're getting this time of the year, you want her to start laying right away, and the colony, it's like a package is really what it ends up being. It's like having a package, but the queen, if you have a laying queen right away in a small nuke, you can add that package to that nuke and boost that nuke, and then they'll be able to really jumpstart getting stores stored for the winter bee nest and whatnot. So it's just a way of getting more bees to prepare for a colony, a young colony for the winter, and then it'll be ready for the next spring to start producing honey for you, or whatever it is you do. But just wanted to show this real quick. At some point during this video, I'm gonna actually, it's not like I just took this idea out of thin air. I actually got the idea from a video German beekeeper. It's the same one actually right behind me. If you saw my video on my German hive bottoms, same video, and there's a lot of concepts that I really liked that I want to incorporate this year. So I'm going to show a clip of that video to give you a better idea on how I'm going to use this Shook Swarm box and the bee funnel. Now I've got, if you have 6 or 7 or 8 production hives or colonies, you're going to want to make up 6, 7, or 8 of these. I made one. This is my prototype, and wasn't too hard to make. I made this out of I had some 4-frame nuke ends already made up, and I just used those. So this is based on a 4-frame nuke, and it's the same size as a hive. It's 19 7/8 long. So I can use my bee funnel on. So you can use your bee funnel on everything. I can use my bee funnel on a 5-frame nuke if I wanted to, or a 4-frame nuke. This is a 4-frame nuke, but it's a swarm box, obviously. Now, what differentiates a swarm box from a regular nuke is that the sides are screened, and that's because you're collecting a whole pile of bees, probably 2.5 pounds of bees, or 3 pounds of bees, however much you want, in a confined space, and you want plenty of ventilation in here. So both sides are screened. The ends, like I said, are for a 4-frame nuke, so it's 8 1/8 wide. That's the width. It's 9 5/8 deep. The edges are rabbited to take in the frame, which is just I think these were 1.5 inch top board. I used 1.5 inch on the top. I used 1.5 inch on the bottom. Then I put the screening on, and then I put I don't know, 3/4 inch, 3/8 inch little shim to hold the screen in place. So and then I stapled that in. The lid itself is just 3/4 inch plywood, and that matches your rabbited frame rests, as it were. You're well aware of that. This will never hold frames. I suppose you could, put frames in here and use this as some sort of a quiet box or whatever. I don't know, but that's really not its intent. But this lid fits snug inside, and then I'll have clips to hold this in place, so that way you can dump this upside down and the lid will not, you won't have bees all over the place. So you want to get those butterfly clips or bent nail or whatever you want to use, L bracket, and to hold this just in place. 2 handles, just typical handles with a little, I think I cut them at 15-degree angles just to make it easier to pull this out. And then I used, what I had. You can use 1/2 inch plywood for the bottom. I used 3/4 because it's what I had. I didn't have any 1/2 inch plywood available. You're going to want to use 3/4 inch for the lid, and the reason that you're going to want to use 3/4 inch for the lid, I suppose you can use 1/2 inch if you want, but the 3/4 of an inch is the rabbet side. So, and when you put your butterfly clips on, you don't want this being loose. You want it flush with the top, or fairly flush, anyways. So that's the shook swarm, or the swarm box, I should say, not the shook swarm, swarm box in a nutshell. So when you are prepared to shake bees in here, you will take your lid off, set it up, and then you'll get your bee funnel and you'll set it in just like that. And the bee funnel, I suppose I can show this to you how this works. I used a sides and the ends of a 5-frame nuke, which was 9 5/8, right? So that was my premise. I cut the ends at a 20-degree angle, starting from the top edge down, 20-degree angle on the edge down. Then I had to cut the sides, this edge at a 20-degree angle, this edge at a 20-degree angle, that edge at a 20-degree angle, and that edge at a 20-degree angle. In order to get it to fit right, the edge right here was cut, of this board, that edge was cut at a 10-degree angle. So 10 degrees and 10 degrees makes your 20 degrees. Okay, and then what you end up with is a concave, rectangle concave type bee funnel. And it's probably got about a 3/4 inch opening, and it's I think it's 12 inches, 12.5 inches long altogether. Then I took just some 1x and beveled it at a 20-degree angle on one edge, and I made that so that this would fit into a 5-frame nuke. I wanted it wide enough so that these rested on the edges of a 5-frame nuke. So 9 5/8 from outside to outside. That's the entire dimension. You know, if you make your own, you're going to have to play with it, but that's how I did it. And then on the bottom, I have a board right here, and that is what fits and sits. This will sit on the rest on the inside here, snugly. Okay? Very snugly, actually. Okay. So that no bees can escape at all. And then you know, this little edge right here will obviously just sit on your lip, and then so everything fits in fairly snug. It's only 3/8 of an inch difference on the edge. Now you'll see the profile right here. There's a space, obviously. This is a space that sits in your rest. This sits over your top of your nuke right here, and then you can, and this is an opening right here, right? But this is how you can lock your funnel in place. You can use your clips, your butterfly clips or your bent nails or whatever, and just show you this, and just you know, turn it and lock this in place. Not that you really need to. Now if I had to make 6 or 10 of these funnels, I'd probably have to shoot myself, because this was a pain in the ass. I'm going to be honest with you. There was a lot of cuts, a lot of head scratching, a lot of things. So glad I only have to make one of those. This box was fairly painless, just like making a nuke. Really no different. A couple extra cuts because you only got, if you can see that, you've only got the 1.5 boards on the top and the bottom. Okay, and then I did put little 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch pieces on the side rail here, and that's just a nailer for the screen, a backer for the screen. But that's it in a nutshell. And after you shake your bees in, you brush them off down into here. Slam your hive, get your bees down, slam it down, take your hive off or your funnel off, and then you throw your cover on, put your clips on, and you're good to go. Set this off in a cool spot while you do the rest of your work, and then you can take this home, transport it. You can when you get it back home. The best thing about this is that now we have we have a colony right here that's broodless. So this is the perfect time to add oxalic acid dribble method. You can shake it down and then dribble your bees with oxalic acid, 50 ml solution, and then they'll work that in between them, and then tip this on its side. You can put a sheet of paper down right here, white sheet paper, put some soft fondant, just set it right on the screen. The bees will come up and take your soft fondant, set it in a cool place overnight, and let the miticide work, let your oxalic acid work, and then you'll have a mite drop through the screen. The next day, come out, take your fondant off, flip your colony, and then you'll be ready to house this in a day into a nuke with a queen. You probably saw some of my videos. I have this 2-frame nukes, mating nukes, and my plan right now is to have some of those mating nukes, those 2 frames, they're going to be laid up. I'm going to have a laying queen right away. So I'm going to have 4-frame nukes. I'll put the 2 frames with the queen in the bottom of the 4-frame nuke. And then I'll put 2 frames on the outside of those bees. I will then lay some newspaper down, put a 4-frame box in, down, empty, no frames whatsoever, and then I'll take a colony such as this, and then I'll be dumping that into that box, and those bees will combine real quick, and then I will install in that box I will install 4 more empty frames and give them some feed, and away they go. Now you'll have a strong colony for your 4-frame or 5-frame nukes. I do 4-frame side by side, double 4-frame nukes. So I'm going to be making up probably half a dozen of these swarm boxes. These were, like I said, this was really cheap. There was nothing to it. Made one little error. I wish I would have waited until to put these handles on so that I could set this on, and the handles were on the inside of this strip here, and I didn't do that. I wish I would have, so that this would lay down a lot easier just during transport or whatever. But that's it. It's another project that probably isn't for everyone. I can see the value in it, and that's why I did it. But if you got anything out of it, I hope you did. I'm going to show you a clip of that video, try to give you a little bit better idea of what I'm talking about. If I didn't explain it well, this is more the video will actually show somebody working bees with it, so that will be a visual for you to help you out. So.
After spraying the warm funnel with water, the bees are brushed off the combs containing honey. In the case of totally empty frames, the bees are shaken rather than brushed into the funnel. Bees which had found refuge in the space of the deep floor are also dumped into the funnel to join the others in the swarm box. In the end, the box is bounced hard on the ground and the funnel is exchanged for a crown board. Before the swarm boxes are removed from the site, any bees adhering to the outside are brushed off so that they can fly to join the colony which will remain at the site. That colony will stay here for a further 3 weeks if its reserves of food permit. After that, it will also be turned into a shook swarm. The shook swarms, mostly infected with varroa, are now taken to a dark room, treated overnight with a varroa side and fed with soft candy. After this period of rest, each shook swarm made of these old honey-producing colonies will be united with a young colony made in early summer. To replace the plastic foil over the top bars, a sheet of newspaper, pierced in several places, is used. Nibbling their way through the paper, the shaken bees will join the other bees slowly, and uniting two colonies is achieved peacefully. An empty brood box is now put on the top of the newspaper, and we spray water over the shook swarm to stop bees flying up. After the removal of the queen cage, the bees are shaken into the empty brood chamber and the hive is closed up. This annual or rotational rejuvenation of colonies strengthens each healthy young stock by uniting it with an old colony after this has been freed of varroa mites. The result is that all colonies are powerful and well prepared to withstand the ravages of winter.
Well, that's the swarm box and the bee funnel project. All that's left now is for me to paint it up. Got any questions, leave them in the comment section. Please give me a thumbs up if you found this helpful or useful in any way, or you liked it. And I hope you subscribe to the channel for more content as it comes out. Until next time, happy beekeeping.